Welcome back, Boat Dragons. We're going to be talking about The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter today. But before we do, you know the drill. So I'm really excited to talk about this book with you. I have a lot of mixed feelings on this book. It's been really popular. It's been talked about a lot by a whole bunch of different booktubers and book review blogs and different things like that. So I'm really excited to kind of share my thoughts on it. And I really have a lot of mixed feelings on it, to be honest. Before we talk about any of that, though, make sure you stick around till the end of the video. I've got a few things that you need to know about that are coming up this weekend, in fact. So make sure you stick around to find out more about that, where you can check out some extra content from me. Also, if you are enjoying this video, as always, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel, things like that. I'd really appreciate the support. And now let's get to the book review. Rage of Dragons is an African-inspired fantasy written by Evan Winter. And it is set up in a world where the society operates on a caste system. So you have the nobles, you have the lesser nobles, and then you have the even lesser people of society. You're just day-to-day average people. And so as you can imagine, the nobles get the higher functions in society, and the lessers, the mediocre people, quote-unquote mediocre people, get your average everyday jobs as servants and, cleaning latrines, things like that. You know the drill. They get the lesser jobs. And it's a matriarchal society, so it's ruled over by women. It's ruled over by a queen, and then most of the major houses are presided over by the matriarch of the community and the matriarch of each family and things like that. So it's a very cool concept. I don't see it very much in fantasy. Your typical fantasy operates more on a patriarchal model, or more of an egalitarian model where men and women are more equal. So and those are great too, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of cool to see a matriarchal society for a change. The magic system in the world is mostly carried out by women as well. There's one very special class of women known as the gifted, who have varying abilities to empower the warriors in the world. They may be able to enhance the warrior's physical strength. Certain types of magic can cause the warrior to bulk up, not only in body size, but in height, and just become this giant of power. I believe they called it an ingonyama, are the ones who go onto the battlefield, and their strength and their musculature and their height is just so greatly enlarged that they're just a powerhouse on the battlefield. And so it's the women who are gifted that bestow these powers on them. So the ingonyamas are usually paired with a gifted to be able to enhance them when it comes time for battle. And there are some gifted that are so powerful that they can call on dragons, and they can become a symbiote with the dragon, at least for a time. They can share the mind of the dragon and wreak havoc on the enemy. It's really cool. The magic system is very, very cool. So if there's men that have special abilities in this world, it's usually they are highly skilled in combat, and that's about as far as it goes. So One of those that we meet in the book is the main character, Tao, and he is a younger man growing up on an island, and they are getting ready to test and hopefully maybe be admitted to the lower military classes. His friend Jabari is a little bit higher class than him, and so he can actually go on to the Citadel and potentially become a warrior of a certain class. Probably not an Inganyama, but he can be an officer at the very least. And so he and Tao are good friends, and they train together. Tao's father trains them, and Jabari's the one who will be testing when the current testing cycle comes up, and then eventually, somewhere down the road, Tao may possibly test as well. But when the dignitaries visit to do the test, something happens. One of them is offended by Tao's father, and Tao's father gets killed. And there begins our tale of outright rage and revenge on the part of Tao to seek out the men who were responsible for his father's death and kill them. Just wipe them and their families out of the picture. And the title Rage of Dragons is kind of misleading. You would almost think that that the Rage of Dragons is the rage within Tao and the rage within some of the warriors. It's not. A Rage of Dragons is basically what they call a collection of dragons. So that's what Rage of Dragons is. But Tao takes the opportunity to leave the home that he has known all his life and sneak into the Citadel and train as a lesser warrior, more or less the warriors that are expendable on the battlefield, and they get to go into competitions and things like that and train and work their way up and win awards and things like that. But they're really only ever meant for light infantry. They'll never really go anywhere. And so it's a really interesting society. I really like the world building, the way it was set up. It's small, but it feels bigger, so I really like that. But there were a lot of flaws that I saw in the book. The majority of the book was focused on Tao. Every single chapter was Tao this, Tao that, Tao, and that's fine. But I really would have liked to have seen more perspective chapters other than just from Tao. I'm a very character-driven reader, and so I would have liked to have seen a perspective chapter from Jabari, per se, or from Zuri. And Zuri is one of the girls in Tao's hometown that ends up testing and is awarded the honor of becoming a gifted. And she and Tao have a thing for each other. That's another side note I'll get to in a few minutes, but I would have liked to have seen a perspective chapter from her, and maybe one from Jabari, and there's several other characters that Tao becomes connected with as he begins training for the light infantry and the expendable classes of combatants. And I would have liked to have seen perspective chapters from them, and we really don't get any until the very, very end of the book. It felt like he decided, maybe I should actually do a chapter from the perspective of this character. Oh, and maybe I should go ahead and do one from this character too. it felt like an afterthought. So, but it's not really characters that you necessarily wanted to have a perspective chapter from. One of them is Kellen Okar, and he is a high-ranking military warrior, and he is in position to become an Inganyama eventually. So he will be one of the super class of warriors that goes onto the battlefield. We get a perspective chapter from him and from a couple of others, but you never really get a perspective chapter from the characters that are most intimately associated with Tao. And I thought that was a huge letdown for me personally. But again, I'm a character driven reader. The plot wasn't great either, and I like a good plot in a story, but it was very. There wasn't a whole lot of a plot, except for the fact my father was killed, I'm going to go avenge him, and I'm just going to get angrier and angrier, and I'm going to go to the demon world to become more powerful and more powerful, and eventually I'm going to become so strong that I can kill the men who killed my father. And it was just angst upon angst, and just constant seeking for revenge, and it turned Tao into a very one-dimensional character in most respects. There were times where I really felt like I was jiving with Tao. I was really starting to see some different sides of him and things like that. But for the most of the book, he was pretty one-dimensional. So I was pretty disappointed by that, and the people who were closest to Tao, I felt were just side pieces to his story. There wasn't really any reason to care about the other characters, things like that. So I guess this is kind of turning into more of a rant than talking about the good stuff. I mean, let's do that. Let's talk about some of the good stuff. I mean, the book was very, very action packed. It really kept your attention. It never got boring per se, even though I wanted to see more deeper and richer character development. The book was never boring. I mean, there were tons of battles and skirmishes, and almost too many at times. It felt like that was the majority of what the book was about, and this could easily be an action movie. This book, and I think it would really make a good action movie. So there's lots of action. There's lots of really cool sword play. At one point, the main character becomes a two-handed swordsman. He wields a sword in both hands, and that's really cool. I really enjoyed watching those scenes, and just the escalation of the battles and the way they were played out, all the thought that was put into the skirmishes and into the details about how the skirmishes were carried out and how they climaxed. I thought it was really, really good. I enjoyed that part of it immensely. So the book definitely has its good points. Tao and Zuri, their love connection was really, really cool at times. It was sweet. It was innocent up until a certain point where it was no longer innocent. I'll just put it right there. There's a, they get together. we'll put it that way. So it was kind of, it kind of felt like insta love, though, if you know what I mean. There's no real progression to their relationship. It's just, she makes googly eyes at him in the beginning, and he makes googly eyes back at her. And there's this kiss, and then they see each other later on in the story, and the spark is still there, and there's definitely an insta love there. So I made a comment in a chat group where we've been discussing the Rage of Dragons, and I'll talk more about that in a minute here at the end of the video. But um, I'm in a book club and we're discussing the Rage of Dragons, and I made the comment that it really felt like this was a book that is suited well for young adults who want to say they've read an adult fantasy novel. It felt very, very YA at times, even though there was a lot of action and bloodshed and there was sex. So, I mean, it's not super young adult, but it's not really a full adult novel either. I did not think it's more of it's kind of middle of the road. If you're an older young adult or if you're a younger adult, it's kind of right there in that bracket. It's not really what I would consider hardcore epic fantasy, although it definitely has a lot of potential. And so that's why I will probably at some point read the second book, Fires of Vengeance, just to see where he takes the story and if he fleshes out the characters more and things like that. The ending especially leaves you hanging. It leaves you prepared for that second book, even though the ending didn't totally make a whole lot of sense to me. Knowing what I did about the world building and the type of society that they live in, the ending didn't totally make sense to me. And I'm just talking the very, very end of the book. So, but I'm willing to give it a shot and see where it goes at some point. I would give this book a 3 stars. I rated it 3 stars on Goodreads, and I'm giving you that rating here. It's got a lot of flaws. I felt like I went into it with a huge sense of hype because I've seen it talked about a lot on different booktube channels, and it's been highly praised in almost every arena that I've seen it talked about. People just talk it up all the time, and so I felt like I went into it with such high expectations, and then I really got let down. I probably should have tried to tone down my expectations just on the off chance that it wasn't all I'd heard it to be, but it's okay. So yes, 3 stars. I probably won't read it again, but I may read the second book and see where it goes. Give it another shot. I'd probably recommend that anyone read it if they're interested at all, but it's kind of up to you if you want to do that. But yeah, it probably wouldn't be a book that I would read again, to be perfectly honest. So that's my review for Rage of Dragons. Leave me some comments below, chat with me about what your thoughts were about the book, if you've read it. If you have not read it, let me know. Is this a book that you think you're probably going to check out? And if you are, that's great. More power to you. You may enjoy it. A lot of people really, really enjoy the book. I just was kind of a little bit underwhelmed. But it was good. Just not great. Guess we'll put it that way. Alright, so quickly, I told you I'd let you know about stuff coming up. Tonight, I am doing a live stream talking about book 2 in the Bobiverse series, For We Are Many. And I'm going to be joined by Carl and Pete from Geek on My Sleeve. So make sure that you tune in for that tonight. Tomorrow, on Saturday, I am taking part in a live stream discussion on the Rage of Dragons with my book club. And that book club is the Dragons Library Book Club on Discord. And I will leave a link in the description below so that you can join the Dragons Library Book Club on Discord if you'd like to. While you're going to Discord, there's a link for my Discord down there as well. And that's where you can join me and a lot of my followers to discuss books and discuss my videos or whatever you might have, so make sure to check out my Discord as well. But yes, tomorrow we are doing a live discussion on The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winters. So if you've read it and you want to check that out, it will be spoiler filled, so be forewarned, there will be spoilers. And finally, on Sunday, hey, I know this is a busy week, right? Or Sunday is next week, I guess, right? Yeah. Sunday, I am joining Carl and Pete from Geek on My Sleeve on their channel to discuss The Fall of Hyperion, Book 2 in the Hyperion Cantos by Dan Simmons. So, there's a lot of great stuff coming up, and I can't wait for you guys to check it out. Chat with me in the comments, check out all my links below in the description, and most importantly, guys, make sure that you are reading more books. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.